right.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Julia, I'm very happy that you're back with us. And it's good to have you here and everyone else who joined in too. And so I guess I will call the meeting to order. It is 4:36. What time is it?
4:33.
4:33. And if you don't mind reading the preamble, that would be great.
Not at all. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sandwich Commission on Disability meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. As we stated, it's 4:33. This meeting is being held remotely in accordance with state laws and regulations, most recently Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022. This meeting can be seen on Local Channel 9 and on live stream at sandwichtv.org. It will be available on demand tomorrow on their website, in addition to being recorded by Sandwich Community TV and by a third party. And we will now do a roll call. Lisa Judelson.
Present.
Alex Beaudry.
I'm here.
Thank you. Joseph Sonia, that is myself. Shonda DeSanti.
Here.
Julia Wright.
Here.
Yay.
She has laryngitis.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Kelly Trapasso.
Here.
Dean Cullen.
Here.
And Dom Jellison.
Here.
Everyone is in attendance. And Dom, do you have your...
everyone?
No, it's not everyone because you didn't get Meg or Julia and Joanne.
Where did
I think you got Julia.
I got Julia.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Meg, you got dropped off the bottom, so Meg Keegan.
Here.
And Joanne.
Oh yeah, Joanne's not on the list because that's the old list.
Right. Joanne, can you say how you say your last name?
Lebherz, Lebherz. So Joanne Lebherz.
Lebherz. Okay, great. Thank you.
And I did just check, and I will update it. You are on the Town of Sandwich Commission on Disabilities webpage listed. So Joanne Lebherz, did I say that right?
Lebherz.
Lebherz. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Did you have your lovely flag for us today? Yay.
All right, so we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Lisa, the first thing on the agenda for today, as usual, is approval of minutes from November 2024. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review those.
I do have one thing to change.
Absolutely. I have it up in case that happened.
Okay. The item about Kelly and I going to the schools, Janine also goes.
Ah, okay.
Other than that, I thought they were great.
Lisa, Kelly, and Janine. Okay, so motion to approve the minutes with the addition of Janine on 4B. Aye?
Aye.
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 Sorry, that was me listing the agenda. That was very poorly stated. I apologize. We will need a second.
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 And we'll do a roll call. Lisa Judelson.
Yes.
Alexander Beaudry.
Yes.
Joseph Sonia, myself, yes. Shonda DeSanti. Okay, just so that it's on voice, Shonda indicated with her fingers that she is in agreement. Kelly Trapasso.
Yes.
Dean Cullen.
Yes.
Dom Jellison.
Yes.
Meg Keegan.
Aye.
Joanne Lebherz. Did I get that right?
Yes. Here.
Great.
With Julia?
Just to be clear, Joanne, it's not a here. Are you voting to approve or not approve or abstain from approving the meeting minutes?
So yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think
Unanimously
we missed
passed.
Julia.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think so.
I am not doing well today.
Don't worry about it,
You all right?
You're doing it perfectly imperfectly.
Is that Julia?
Yes.
Unanimously passes. So Lisa, next up is business and eye-to-eye follow-up. And I believe, Alex, you had something on that?
Yeah, that's me. So I was able to connect with Beth Donahue, who I just know up at the San Antonio High School. She's like the DEIB person. So I thought she would be like a good in to talk. And so she also does the computer science program there. And she works with Michelle Dunham, who runs the Eye to Eye. And so she would be very interested. She said she's like heard about our meetings through the paper or whatever. Be very interested in having us come out to see her web design class, and then also the Eye to Eye kids. I guess there are some times in the schedule. Typically it would be on Tuesday during nighttime, which is 10:12 to 10:40. We would just have to find a date where that was also the time that her web design class had that, because that's when the Eye to Eye group meets, that we could just talk about accessibility in like web design. So I was thinking this would be good for maybe Meg with the tech, and then maybe Lisa and or anybody else who may want to go. I'm happy to go. There isn't, the next time that happens is actually next week. She acknowledged that that was probably too soon. But that I just have to see who's interested, and then I will send out emails of possible dates of when that schedule aligns. But it is definitely something that they're interested to have us come out and talk about accessibility for web design and technology and stuff like that,
That's great.
and
Thank
just
you.
why it's important. So yeah, that's where we are.
I'll definitely be interested in doing that.
I would be interested too, but I would think next week that would be challenging for me. But
Yeah, I
you could
told
get-
her that. I was like, no, like into the new year would probably be better.
yeah, sure. That would
Yep.
be great.
So I'll get some dates on that and I'll send that out so that we can figure out when to do that.
Is anybody else interested in participating in that?
I would definitely be really happy to go. I don't know if anyone else is.
I'd be interested, but I'm not that tech savvy yet. But
I don't think you have to be tech savvy. They're the ones that need to be tech savvy.
yeah,
You
They
just
Yeah,
need to know why it's important
Mhm.
that they're
Yeah.
doing this.
no, yeah.
I'd
I
be-
mean, I
I'd
would
be
like to
interested.
go.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I was just saying I would be interested as well.
Yeah, so if you come up with some dates, maybe, I mean, we could even go more than once, and if she wanted, or we could see who's available on the dates that are available. Put together a team.
Sounds good.
Lisa, I would be interested too. Just a question. What is the Eye to Eye? Is that an acronym?
Eye to Eye is a program for neurodiverse students, where upperclassmen, maybe 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I think probably 11th and 12th actually, they provide support, etc., for younger students who are also neurodiverse.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, they're meant
it's a nationwide program. Sandwich just started it last year. Meg can talk more about it too.
Okay. I haven't
Yeah.
heard why.
Yeah, I found it, I don't know how long ago it was, in a podcast that I was listening for my son. But it allows, what the purpose of it is, it allows upperclassmen to have leadership roles. So actually, I don't think they've been able to do this yet, but they usually send two upperclassmen out to Colorado, University of Denver, and train them, and they come back and they put on the program. So it's student led. There's like teachers obviously that help and oversee some things, but it's student led, and they do art projects to like they did a bowling project to knock out, stigma, right? And they talk about stigma. So they talk about things that they face, and then it allows the older kids to mentor the younger kids, and then they would eventually become the mentors. So it's a peer-to-peer group. My favorite part of it is that it gives kids that are neurodiverse leadership opportunities. So whether they're going to college or applying for a job, it's something they could put on their resume.
So essentially peer mentors, right?
Yep.
And Joanne,
Yeah,
I will include the link to eye-to-eyenationals.org in the agenda. Sorry, not the agenda, the meeting minutes, so people have it easily accessible.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else on that, next up is the Massachusetts Office on Disability, the January meeting update, and reporting on the accessible agenda, both from Lisa.
Sure. So Jeff Dugan confirmed that he will come January 15th at 4:30. And I had been emailing back and forth with Heather Harper and people from the town, and they're very interested. I actually forwarded the MOD guidelines for commissions on disability to her, just so we can have everybody on the same page about what our responsibilities are and what the guidelines are for us in the town. And she's said people are very excited to come. There'll be several department heads that will be attending our meeting in January. And she also asked if myself and Alex and Joe would be interested in having a meeting after Jeff comes, just to process how not how the meeting went, but what was said in the meeting, and just everybody be on the same page. So I took that to be very positive. And Joe and Alex, I know, Alex, you had said you could do the 20th or the 21st. We're good for you. The 20th is Martin Luther King Day. So is the town closed that day?
Yes, it is.
So,
It's closing in the town.
okay. So maybe the 21st. Joe, can you check and see if that date would be good with you? I'm pretty flexible.
I'm checking that right. What time would it be? Just
I will
randomly?
ask her what time they might have, because she wanted to pull together a few people. So, but if I let them know some parameters about that day, maybe we can make that happen.
Yeah, I look available that day, and if you just give me time, I can block it off.
Okay, so maybe
Same.
if we can get
Same.
that, okay, if we can get that set earlier, the sooner the better, and then we can block it. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'm working, but I'll just block my schedule when it's
Okay.
far enough out. So yeah, just let me know.
Terrific, thank you. Great, okay, and then the accessible agenda. When I spoke with Heather about it, and then she put me into contact with Mike Toomey, I did discuss the specifics that were difficult for me to access. And Mike has come up with the Adobe Read Out Loud, I believe is what it's called. And he's shown people at the town who they all feel like that's a great option and might work. I am not completely sure what that is or how I will use it. So I've emailed Mike to see if I could get a meeting with him a week from Monday, and I have not heard back yet. I CC'd Brendan and Heather as well to see if we can just sit down in person and I can show them. I feel like it's going to have to be in person, and I'm going to need to show them and have him show me how that works and how I can utilize it. So it is still in progress, but that's my plan. So I will report back about how that goes.
And Lisa, do we know, is that like an Adobe app on top of what iPhones and Androids do natively?
Yes, I believe I will have to turn off my voiceover to
Okay,
have that work. And so
that's
I would,
generally
yes,
it's
I don't-
discouraged in every guideline
yes,
I'm aware of.
Yes, it is.
that will be 100% part of our conversation about, and I want him to see that, I can use my phone to do all these things, and I'm going to have to turn it off, and then he's going to have to help me figure out how to use it. And when we see how challenging that can be, hopefully it will solidify in people's minds why. I don't think that just saying, I don't think that's going to work, is going to make a difference to anybody. I think they have to see it.
Yeah.
Now, would the Adobe work on a phone, or would you have to be on like a computer?
Who knows?
I'm not sure.
It's not going to work is basically.
Yeah.
Even if it does work, it's less accessible and shouldn't be
Correct.
used. It's very simple to run an accessibility check. I do it for every agenda I make every time.
Yes.
I do it in Word. I convert it to PDF. I run one in PDF. I get a couple check errors for like some grayscale stuff, but that's more of a high contrast thing. And I think with what we have, it's okay. No one has said anything. And if anyone does notice that the contrast isn't acceptable, please let me know. We can change that. But that's the only flags I've ever gotten on the agendas we make.
Yeah, I think that part of this, right, is that, I mean, according to Taylor, people are allowed to send in a handwritten agenda, right? And so it's you know, my question is who's responsible for making it accessible, right? So if you make it accessible and they get it, and when they post it online, it's no longer accessible, who's responsible for that type of thing, right? And so, I think that like Lisa, what I hear Lisa saying, and I agree, is that you know, we've said that it doesn't work a whole ton of times, and now we're just moving on to trying to show them. I just don't know when, like, when do we stop? Like, when do we turn this? We're actually not responsible, I believe, for making things accessible that they make inaccessible. So,
Like this step to do a face-to-face meeting. I feel like I had a good conversation with Mike, and then he came up with this solution. And I don't think this will work, but I would like him to show me how he thinks it's going to work, so then I can see if it does or not. I'm going on that principle. I don't think it's going to, but I'm willing to go down and try and let him show me what he has for a solution. But I do think, you know, even if, you know, I obviously have a way to get on here aside from that agenda. But anybody else that might want to join our meeting that is visually impaired is not going to even know about the Adobe Read Aloud. And if they're using their voiceover, it's not going to be accessible to them. So it might be accessible to people who can see, but I have doubts whether it's accessible to someone who cannot see. But that said, I have not used that program or had anybody explain it to me. So I'm more than willing to give my time and go down there. And I feel like that will be not the last straw, but like that will be the time to explain that. And it will work or not work. And if it doesn't work, we're going to need to come up with something else. And he seems willing to do that. So I'm going to go with that for this experience and see how that goes.
yeah, Mike's been great. He really does try to make an effort to do things. I reached out to the MOD and said, like, what's the procedure on this? And he said she said that it has to be Brendan is responsible for making the meetings accessible. And so I think even if Mike doesn't understand it, as long as Brendan understands that it's not accessible, he's the one that can enforce it being accessible. So it's really important that that he is either there or understands what's happening.
I CC Brendan on my request for a meeting. And so hopefully he can either come or I will keep him in the loop about what's happening.
And Lisa, let me know when that is.
Okay.
If I can join, I can at least bring an Android to see if there's any difference.
Okay, great.
I know that was helpful when we met with the school
Yes.
a while back.
Okay, I'll let you know when I hear back from him.
Thanks. Next up on the agenda, accessible parking. I have Meg, Don, and myself. I think, Meg, you have the most information from a couple emails, it looked like.
Yep, so I heard back from Tammy, the ADA coordinator in Barnstable, the parking guy, and the chair of the Commission on Disability, and Josh Bound from police. And what they're asking me is just to throw out some dates. So if Dom and Joe at some point you could let me know when would work for you, I'll throw those dates out for them. I know there was some, like, they said what times were better, but I think we're gonna be doing it remotely, because it's just easier for people to access it. So as soon as we set that up, they're gonna let us know how it works in their town. And basically what I said is, you know, is there just so that we can present options to the Commission on Disability, is there a mini version of the parking people that they have in Barnstable that that we can replicate in a mini version in Sandwich? If the police aren't able to, write the tickets or whatever it is, then we can have other people that can do that. If they can train them in Barnstable, then they can train them in Sandwich, is my thought, for people who want to do that. So I want to know how they go about doing it, what the training is, and how to get that. But once we have that meeting, I'll let you all know.
Thank you. All right. Next up, Lisa, do you have an update on the number of tickets?
So I spoke with Taylor, who said that in the 10 years he's been there, he thinks there's been like 2 or 3, like less than 3, accessible parking tickets that were written. So, and then I inquired, how would they know? So basically, and then I followed up with Heather to verify what Taylor was telling me. And it appears that tickets that are written get processed in Plymouth. People can choose to pay them or not pay them. If they do pay them, the money comes once a month. And apparently there is no distinction between accessible parking violations and other parking violations. And so Heather suggested they would have to go to the police to try and figure out how to distinguish those. Also, Taylor mentioned that the parking violations, it's seasonal really, that the numbers go way up in the summer, and then are almost none in the winter because they're mostly beach parking violations. And other than the police, natural resources, and there was one other entity that are allowed to write tickets. And so they mostly are written for beach parking in neighborhoods where they're not allowed. And so Heather, in her email, which I forwarded to the COD email, basically felt that we had vetted this in the past last year, and that she's suggesting that it's not a great source of revenue. And so, I think the tickets are not being written. I mean, our question around my asking Taylor was to find out if tickets were being written, but they were being forgiven or waived. And that does not seem to be the situation. It just seems that they're not being written.
May I ask for some clarification on that, Lisa?
Sure.
So what I heard from you was, is that when they're written, they then go to Plymouth and then the money comes back, but nobody knows what the money was actually from, if it was an accessible ticket or a beach parking ticket, correct?
That's what I was told.
So where did the data that was shared with us, I love data. Where did the data come from that there's only been 3 written in that amount of time? Like, do you understand my question?
I do.
If the town is receiving the funds and it's going right from the police, like did that come from the police department, or did that come from, it sounds like it came from town hall.
Taylor in the town clerk's office.
Okay.
I think it's because somebody came in with their ticket and he said that people sometimes forget to put their placard up, and they got a ticket. And so when they show him the placard, he forgives it. And I don't know if his comment about 3 tickets came from that experience. I'm not really sure what data or information he was using to make his comment. I think he just wanted me to know there were hardly any.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. It seems like it's really unknown still then. That there's not many, but we really don't have a number because
It would seem. I think the police would perhaps have more of that information.
yeah, okay. But overall, it seems like it's definitely being under enforced. I mean, I've seen more than that simply at school drop off.
Correct. Or at the
So,
snowy out. There's a lot
In the
of
last year.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Right.
okay.
Dom, do you remember when the what year it was passed to have that law was passed? I think it was passed at the same time the Commission on Disability, because my understanding is that since that law was passed, any accessible parking funds would go to us. I don't know if that was 10 or more or less years ago, but I reached out to the Inspector General and I haven't heard back from him to understand about how that would work.
I think it was like even probably more than 10 years ago.
So I'm wondering if the town would have to go back since that law was made, and weed out all the accessible tickets. But I
Linda,
reached out to the Inspector General to see if that, like, to see what that even means or what that would look like or what they're responsible to do.
Meg,
But
may I say something?
sure.
I love, like I just said, I love data. I think it's super important. I'm not like, I personally, I don't want to speak for, I don't think that that's like a reasonable use of town time or whatever. Like, we know there's not that many. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
So
I did
I
just look up
think,
the law.
but I think, I mean, I think it's good to know the answer, but like, I don't think that that is, I think it's how do we move forward from here to have them written more regularly and those funds to come to us.
I think it would be important to know who has that data? Where does that information get collected? Somebody has to have it. And the question is really, I believe the police are not enforcing accessible parking violations. And I don't know if they don't have the time, resources, what it is. And so maybe how can we intervene there? But I would agree going forward, because I don't think there are many to go back and retrieve.
And then that's
So-
interesting, Lisa, you made me think, like, I wonder if we can't like access accessible parking, say at the high school it's all full or something. Do we say, oh, maybe this should be checked out, you know, if everybody's there? I don't know how the town even looks at that.
Yeah, I think that's why we're having that meeting, because if the police are unable, like if Josh Bound says that that's not a good use of the police's resources or whatever they say, whatever the data comes out to be, that's why we would look at, farming a mini version of what happens. And people can decide how much time they want to spend on that or not. I mean, if they're not writing any tickets, then we don't have any good data about how much accessible parking there has been in the past if they're not writing any of those tickets. So I've just kind of like, I feel like the Inspector General has access to all that type of data. And so I just wanted to be clear about, how that is, because that's a law that's been written of about the use of taxpayers' money, I believe.
Yeah, Meg,
Um,
I did pull up the law, and the way it's phrased is it's a permissive law. So the towns and CODs can seek that, but are not mandated to. So we'd have to make sure we make an official request, and it would have to be voted on at the select board meeting.
Well, that's already been done.
It has.
Yeah, that was done like way long time ago. So they've already accepted that. It was actually voted in at town meeting. So it's been years and years and years of those funds not coming to us. That's why I reached out to the Inspector General. Not as in like it's just to
Yeah.
say, hey, how is this supposed to be done? What is the way that it's supposed to be done? Because obviously the town has no idea. So I'm just kind of done asking them.
Yeah. I didn't realize that distinction. That's good to know.
Thank you for clarifying that, Meg.
Anything else on that topic? Okay,
No,
so we'll look forward to hearing about how your meeting goes with Barnstable, and then you'll follow up then with the police department. Is that the plan?
The police department Josh Bound should be at that meeting,
Okay, great.
planning on attending. So hopefully I don't know if you want me to bring the board of, if you want me to invite Taylor. I know that, the chairperson of the Commission on Disability in Barnstable's wife is a town clerk, but they do it very different in Barnstable than they do it, in Sandwich.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how do people feel about inviting Taylor? I'm not sure. I mean,
Say that again. Sorry, my son interrupted.
I'm wondering about how people feel about asking Taylor to join that meeting, if we feel it's necessary or not.
I don't think it's necessary. I think that the how it's done and how it's supposed to be done will come out. But if he wants to come or be present or whatever, I'm happy to have anybody that wants to contribute to moving forward with this.
So I guess, anybody else have an opinion? So I guess you can invite him, and if he wants to come or not, it's up to him.
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
All right, and just before I jump to the next topic, I just wanted to point out I misspoke earlier and I misinterpreted Shonda's hand signals, and she was abstaining from that vote, and that's what you'll see in the minutes. Thank you. And next up is accessible voting update, the AutoMark machines. Lisa?
Yes. So when our last meeting happened, I had not voted yet. So when I went down to vote, despite the fact that I had called Taylor to say, I'm going down tomorrow morning to vote, he said, I'm checking the machine right now. I'll call you if there's a problem. And then left me a message to say he ran some ballots. It was running perfectly. I went down the next morning and it did not work. Marie Buckner was helping me. It ate up 2 or 3 ballots. It was frustrating, to say the least. So each time that happens, Taylor puts in a request. It's all documented, and they send out, they use state money to fix the machine, and it gets fixed and it runs a ballot perfectly. But then this is now probably the 3rd time I've gone to use it, and it has not worked.
Lisa, same. I'll just say, when I went in, you must have gone in before me, because they really discouraged me from even trying the machine.
And what did they say to you?
So I walked in by myself at first, and my mom and daughter were out in the car, and I don't know who the man was, but I asked if I could use it, and he goes, it's really not working well. It will take you a long time. Could I fill out your ballot? And I said, well, I have someone in the car who can. So then I brought them in, and then they were like really worried about me walking around in there, that I was going to trip on wires and everything. So that's just how I handled it. My mom and me, we sat down and she filled it out, but
Okay.
it was disappointing. Like, I could tell there was something wrong with the machine.
Yes. I mean, they were excited for me to come in, and then the mood changed.
Yeah.
So, also,
I also couldn't use the machine either, and the precinct captain or whatever,
or the warden.
warden, yeah, filled it out for me, which was sort of awkward having a stranger do your ballot, and you wonder how much people around you hear.
Yeah, that's why I insisted
awkward.
on bringing my mom in, because
Yeah,
I have someone in the car that could,
yeah.
Has anyone successfully used the machine?
I have used it several times prior to in the recent past, it's been broken, but I have used it many times.
And I have a friend in New York who's blind, and she is able to use a machine there. I know it's a different state, but they have a working machine.
Also, it was reported to me that there were some inconsistencies around what people said, that the machine maybe wasn't working, but they should use, I'm not sure about the exact quote. At any rate, I reported all of that to Taylor just so that he had the information and could do better training around people at the polling sites and the AutoMark machines, which people are trained on them. They're supposed to know where they are, how to use them, what they're for. And in fact, I really would like to do advocating around using those machines, but I don't want to do that until they're working properly. But really, anyone who is visually impaired can have the ballot read to them. But also, if someone couldn't read, or was dyslexic, or was uncomfortable, does better with spoken language than written language, could use the machine. Anybody with any kind of motor disorder, Parkinson's, whatever it might be, where bubbling in the little bubbles is challenging for them, scrolling through the ballot on this machine and then using the machine to mark your ballot. It's not just for people with vision impairment. And so it is important that we have that. I wasn't sure if they would be going towards digital voting, which is apparently an option. I did not select that early on to do it. And it was new this year. So, a code has to be sent to you. You have to send it back when you turn in your ballot. Taylor has to do something special with it. So there was no one in town who chose to do that form of voting. But, that is only good if you have computer access. So if you don't, I think it's still important to have an accessible machine like the Automark in the precincts. So that said, I reached out at Taylor's suggestion to the Secretary of State's office and spoke with them there. And I got to the elections division and spoke with Bridget Murphy, whose email I did forward to the COD email. And basically, she said that her office is in process of examining new options for accessible voting. However, it's a huge undertaking like it was for the Automark, and it's bureaucracy and government. So there needs to be RFPs put out. There needs to be extensive investigation with people with disabilities and voting bureaus. So it's a lot of, I'm not sure if they're into this yet or they just have intention to get into this. So I sent her back an email inquiring what kind of timeline they're on. And basically she also said that the towns would need to incur cost on that because the Automark machines were purchased and funded with federal dollars that would likely not be available to do it again. And they also are being fixed with federal money as well. So moving forward, I think she implied that some municipalities are using accessible voting machines that work with their ballot counting. And so that maybe not every town would even be using the same machine. So I inquired further around if hypothetically my town was looking to do something like that, what kind of time frame are they on and what would that look like? And also, was there even an estimate of what kind of cost that would be?
Yeah,
So-
Lisa, I felt like I would like maybe the town to, I didn't like that I think they were nervous if I tried to walk to the ballot machine, I'd trip on wires that were taped down, but I would have liked to walk to the machine. I did make my mom look. I'm like, make sure my ballot's going in,
Yes.
Yeah. 'Cause it
My
just-
friend insisted that I put it in myself to just, and there is something about putting it in and knowing that you cast your ballot. And
Yeah.
they're important things. And there's no reason why anyone should have to forgo that.
Yeah, like just trying to help me, but it made me feel like I don't know why I was like, Mom, can you make sure he's actually walking over there,
It
And
made you feel comfortable. I don't know why they wouldn't allow you to walk over yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brendan should also be looped in for that. I'm pretty sure, right? He is responsible for making sure that all voting locations are accessible.
I mean, I think they would have let me if I really pushed, but I got the
They
vibe
should have not let you.
the machines down or something. If you, so,
Well, you walk around all the time in all kinds of places. The fact that it's like when somebody brings you in and they say, here, sit here, it's safe over here. And they sit
yeah,
in the corner.
Mm.
That's not allowed.
Okay.
Well, I think they did have cords running back and forth.
But those are taped down so everyone can not trip.
Right, so that's what I was gonna say. If they're worried about one of us tripping, anyone could trip.
That's
But just to clarify what I said, the precinct warden said she didn't think the machine was working, said she didn't even know if it worked and she wasn't trained on it.
right.
So,
That was the
yeah,
quote that I told
yeah.
that's the
Taylor.
vibe I
Yeah.
got. you know.
Yeah. And but they are trained on it. And so maybe they just didn't want you to use it, but that's not okay. And so we had a
No.
whole discussion about
Yeah, they said it would take me way too long too. So
it. The speed of your voting is not any concern of theirs. You could take all day till Tuesday to cast your vote if you want to. That is not an
Yeah.
appropriate.
And again, Brendan really is the one, like, he needs to know about this because he is responsible for making sure that it's quote unquote safe, right? They don't get to decide, you do, or he does, And so I really please loop him in.
I'm
happy
asking
to-
Brenda for a phone call on Monday, and this will be on the list of things.
Yep, and I mean, he can also, if those things were said, he knows that that's not it. And I mean, I've reached out several times with no response to ask for training for people to understand what you can and cannot say or should not say or have training on that. I've asked them if the town has had training. I know that the HR director said that she was planning to get training on interacting with people with disabilities and certain things like that. I'd like to know if it was been done. I have not heard back. I'm happy to follow up. Because this is not the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time that this has happened. So
No, you're right. I think it would have been nice if I had been approached when I first came in because I didn't know my precinct, so it's kind of like, here I am. Is anyone?
Well, even when you went in to get sworn in, I mean,
Yeah.
that same experience. So, right, there's definitely, I would hope, a lack of training. If there's already been training and this is happening still, I'd like to understand why that is. But I haven't got any word back. So maybe you could, I did loop Brendan in. Brendan suggested that we give a training. And my response to that was that the MOD offers municipalities training, not the COD. The COD doesn't train people, the MOD does. And he could reach out and get training from them. So maybe this could be part of him and the HR director requesting training. We can give suggestions to training if people wanted to do that. If people feel, I told Brendan be happy to hear what the COD had to do about suggesting of training on these type of things. Maybe we can add that to the next agenda.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jeff's coming, but I'm not sure how long. But yes, that should be on our list. Okay. Joe, are you making a to-do list?
Yeah, I'm just typing that training for town personnel and our future agenda items on the list. I have that in there.
And I will talk with Brendan about training and the voting experience as well when I speak with him.
Joe, can you just read what Chanda wrote for the record?
John in the Zoom chat wrote, I think sometimes people have a lack of confidence in performing tasks, so they may just avoid the task. They will get more training to build confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Chanda.
Yeah, I think that is a lot of it, Chanda, because I got a feeling that they felt uneasy about the machine.
Or you as a person with visual impairment.
With the cane, yeah. Maybe they
were
felt
just uncomfortable.
Down. I don't know.
You guys did not see when we were taking our picture. Like, we had 3 visually impaired blind people, and the reception of people was really quite interesting when we were taking our picture.
What was
They were just like, they saw one guide dog, then they're like, oh my god, there's another one. Oh, there's a person with you could see them like double checking, being like, wow, there's all these blind people. And I even said to Meg, oh my goodness, blind people in public, like existing.
Then the whole left, I saw them give the look at you guys walking on the left side because they don't know that you guys walk on the opposite side as everyone else. And I was like, oh my god.
My dog plays chicken on the boardwalk. He will continue walking and he will make them move around. But if they stop and stay still, then they're an object for him to go around. But if they're moving, he's not moving. He will not hold his course.
That's a good boy right there.
Mm-hmm. But one thing I will say is that, my husband has lived with me being blind for a decade, and I was frustrated with him because he said, Janine, come this way. Give me I think he said something like, give me your arm. And he moved you, Janine. And I was like, no. And you were like, yeah, just put me where you need me to be. And I'm like, no, tell him to do sighted guide. But
honestly, that's easier when you're freezing in the cold.
Okay. So that's
for a picture. That works well for me.
But what I wanted to make a point about was that he knows how to do sighted guide, and he knows, I mean, that is one of my pet peeves. But in a situation where there's people coming and going and it's freezing cold and you just want to get the job done,
Yeah.
sometimes even the most well-trained people, it kind of goes out the window. And so it's not, you know, a militant perspective on it where it must always be this way. I mean, people are human, and sometimes you cut corners, and I guess if it's okay, if it was okay with you, so you were not upset or offended, and I guess so it depends on the person. But
Oh, no,
I do
not
have
at all.
compassion for not everything can be done, not everything is always done 100% correctly, and sometimes that's okay. But I think we just try to do our best, right? Like that's the goal, is to just try and do your best. And yeah. So,
Well, I think Andy's way was the most expedient, so
yeah, but just
it
like
made
Kelly
sense.
having that person fill out her ballot, expedience is not always the best, you know, for the person. If it wasn't okay with you, the whole thing would not have been okay. So,
Yeah, and I think it's at a different level when it comes to town accessibility, voting rights,
Yes,
right?
and
It's
people,
just,
you know,
yes, because
yeah.
that gets into policy and how we address things at a town level, which you're right, is different than a personal interaction.
Something we've
like
been
not being
trying
able to, sorry, Joe, go ahead.
I was just saying something that we've been trying to teach our daughter and ourselves, a really simple phrase to help a lot of people who are uncomfortable, is don't treat others how you want to be treated. Treat others how they want to be treated.
And you have to ask to know that.
Mhm.
Like Lisa says to me, you know, instead of, you know, to say, do you need help? Ask permission. Don't just do it for someone or not do it at all. Just ask permission, which I think is, you know, how can I help you? Or, you know, I said to Heather in one of the meetings that we had, I said, you know, I learned to say, like, if I don't know how to do something, I don't know, let's find out together, right? And work together with whoever it is to understand the best way to do something and not assume I know the best way or whatever, or they know. It's to be collaborative, which I believe is lacking.
And before we move on, I just want to read, Shonda posted something in the chat again, and it is, Lisa said once that people are afraid of blind people, and I think about that all the time. I think that's a really great statement right there.
Yeah, it's true. My kids notice it all the time, but I think they're getting more and more used to it.
I think there's a real desensitizing, you know, but the problem, there's not an abundance of people who are outwardly blind. I'm sure there's plenty of people walking around with visual impairment, but, you know, people using guide dogs and canes where someone can just make that assumption by seeing them. There's not a lot of people. And so to desensitize people. So I think it's a novelty, and then people get panicky and they're not really sure what to do. They don't want to do the wrong thing. They don't know what to do. So instead of just asking, most people, well, if I have my dog, people are falling over themselves to try and talk to me. But if I have my cane, people generally don't talk to me at all. I don't know, Kelly, if that's your experience.
I find a lot of people, I seriously just don't know what it is. Like I hear, like even we were at the Heritage last night, you know, for my husband's company party, and someone was like, "What is she doing?" You know, they just don't understand even what it is. So I think that's a hard part.
And aside, Kelly, I just did like a symposium thing for a grant that I'm getting for my TVI program, which is a teacher for the blind and visually impaired, for anyone who doesn't know what that is. And we're learning from educators for the blind all over the world and there are countries they don't use canes.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've been
And
on
so
a
that's
cruise
what they were
ship.
talking about. It's like, so other parts, like if you travel, like they don't even know what it is at all.
Yeah, I've noticed that with cruise ship workers, and I
Yeah.
can't blame them because they don't have like canes maybe where they come from.
Well, the entire country of Costa Rica has one orientation and mobility specialist, which was
Oh
where
my-
one of the, which is, anyways, an aside. So.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess education, outreach.
Yeah, I guess my thing is who's responsible for that. My understanding is that the MOD can provide that to the town.
At the town level, for sure. I had a driver take me to a meeting yesterday, and I spent the whole drive to Yarmouth doing education outreach and explaining. And he had a lot of misconceptions, and so hopefully after the drive, he was feeling a little better about things. Or
Yeah, Meg, I don't think like it's necessarily like even Lisa going down about the like the accessible agenda. I mean, I think it's great that she is doing it, but it's really not her responsibility to do that. Like it should be tested. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it's not really
100%.
and I appreciate that Lisa's doing it. And I think that like working in a collaborative way in a small town, it makes sense. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's sit down together. But it's not really the responsibility of the disabled person to be like, this is why. Like, no.
Right.
That's not really how it works.
It's not even Joe's responsibility to make an accessible agenda. Like I said, we could handwrite an agenda and send it in. The town needs to know how to make every single agenda in whatever form they accept accessible. And so I feel like in a way, when we do those things, I think that, like you're saying, it's good in a small town or whatever, but we're enabling them by doing it for them. And so, like, I'm trying to ask myself, where's the line? Where do I stop enabling them to do it and have them have to figure it out themselves? Because helping them hasn't got us anywhere. Advising them hasn't got us anywhere either. We're still over a year. We've been asking for an accessible agenda at this point. It's been over a year.
I guess my line for me is going down to have a face-to-face and then working through that and seeing where that goes.
I think that you will show, I think it is good showing them that it doesn't work, I guess, in case they think I don't know, we're just saying it doesn't work, you know?
Because this option of working with the town to try and have them figure it out within the town department, you know, is certainly possibly quicker and cost effective for the town, because there are several you know, companies that are primarily made of people with visual impairment that will do testing of your website. They will do all of that, but it's expensive. You know, you have to pay for that service. And so, you know, and we can listen to Jeff and, you know, see how it is enforced through the MOD and what suggestions they have, which Meg, I know you've explored. But
the MOD is an enforcement. Brendan is the town's enforcement. And then the DOJ and the Office of Civil Rights, those are the enforcement on other ones. We haven't gone to really the enforcement yet, but I mean, that's next. Because we can't do anything if, we can't enforce them and neither can the MOD. They can offer all the advisement, but if they don't take the advisement, then that's where it goes.
So I guess this is where I'm at, is that I know their budget, whatever, it's, you know, trying to get a lot of things done in the town. I'm happy to go down and show them that that doesn't work and make suggestions and talk to them. And if that does not go anywhere, then, you know, we will have to.
I appreciate you doing that, Lisa. I think that is, it's not your responsibility, but it's a good thing to do.
Yep, I think it's community building and bridge building and that type of stuff, but.
Right, because there are many other things that I think we're also wanting to get addressed and to work with. And so I'd rather stay on that path and see if we can make it work that way.
I know I spoke with someone in Truro and they did their like long-term plan or whatever it's called with the planning board, and everything that they had in their plan and their budget included universal design and funding for that. So I'm happy they said that I could reach out to them to understand that better. Maybe I'll give them a call, because I know that other towns are just automatically including that as what the person said was a no-brainer. So, I think that it is, to me, it's a no-brainer. You have to include money to abide by laws, but, if they choose not to, that is an option.
Anybody else on this topic? All right, what's next, Jeff?
Yeah, we have Commission Internet Resource, a couple sub bullets. The first few have you tagged on them, starting with individual emails.
Okay, so we, based on the discussion and training with the town council, talking about having to go through people's emails if there's any questions around open meeting law violations. And she was suggesting not using personal emails. So I asked the town about giving people town emails, but that is difficult to manage and costly. And so the recommendation that came back from the town was to make a separate Gmail account and then to tag the accessibility at Sandwich email, and that will automatically put it into record within the town. So, and also put it into their town archives so that if there ever was a question of open meeting law violation, they already have it. They don't even actually need to get in touch with you. And I asked if there were any other times that someone from the town would go through our personal emails, and basically not unless there was some kind of lawsuit happening that was a much larger scope than, like, open meeting law stuff. So so that way Michelle could just go through the emails and find what she needed to find without really even having to bother you. So right now we have the Sandwich COD, which is a list. And so if you email something to that, it goes to all of us on the commission. If you email the accessibility at Sandwich email, it goes just to the email account that we have that Meg, Joe, and I access. So originally, Mike was talking about making that accessibility at Sandwich mass.org. Is it .org or is it .com? At any rate, making that a list that would automatically go to everyone. But if we did that every time anybody emailed anything, everyone would get every piece of email. And I wanted to get a sense from the commission whether everybody wants that, or if they want to keep it the way it is now, where we can keep all of the emails at accessibility at Sandwich separate from the whole list. So basically, like, there a lot of emails go back and forth that all get registered in that the email that Alex, Joe, and I have access to, that keeps it away from individuals. Or does everybody want to get everything, I guess is my question.
I prefer it to go to the accessibility email, and I try to use that for all COD purposes.
Yes, I would also prefer that. But, if, I mean, everybody, we should go around and let everybody chime in, because, if Janine or Kelly, if you guys would like to have access to every email that gets sent, then we can switch it up that way. Joanne, I don't know how everybody.
Well, then I guess I'll do a motion to vote on email, whether we want to receive it to personal emails or only to accessibility email.
Well, the COD, Sandwich COD at Sandwich Mass, I believe that can only be sent to from a sandwich.mass email, unless Joe has changed that.
I have not changed
But
that setting.
Yeah, I'm not sure that if you send it from a personal email to Sandwich COD.
No, it would be Mike changing the accessibility at Sandwich Mass, changing that one to a list to everyone's. Like, he would change it to send it to everybody's personal. So if we CC'd the accessibility email, then everyone would get a copy of it to their personal email.
Right, but I just wanted to be clear that right now, if I sent something from my personal email to Sandwich COD, it would go nowhere.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yes,
It
that
wouldn't go
appears
to
to
anybody.
be a
should
public
be.
group inside of the Outlook environment, so it is not typically accessible. It's only
You have-
accessible to people in the organization.
So the point of that was so that like somebody from the public is not like sending us all stuff, but they could send it to everyone. They would just have to use everyone's individual email. But if, the agenda or whatever would go out to the, like, I could just put in sandwich COD instead of listing everybody's email to, if there was something that needed to just go to the members, the chairperson or secretary or whatever could send it to everyone from that. It just was ease of use for stuff that everybody needed to get from the officers, I guess they're called. But I understand that what you're saying is that Mike would make the accessibility. He could also make another email that could go to all of us that we could decide to tag if we wanted to or not, or CC if we wanted to or not.
I think that's a good idea, Meg.
I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. To have an option for either, because there's definitely some things that I don't think everybody like needs to be inundated with. But I do think that it would be nice to have that as well.
So that's like a third option. You could just have him make, you could either make sandwich COD able to be sent to from outside emails outside the organization, or you could make another email that just the members had to be able to communicate with each other outside of it.
Okay. So I'm not sure how to set up a vote for that.
I'll make a motion to amend the motion that's on the table.
Hold that for 1 second. Does
Okay.
everybody understand what these options are? Does
Yes.
anybody have any questions?
I can explain it I can do a quick synopsis. There's accessibility at Sandwich Mass would go to the officers. Sandwich COD is for the officers to use to send to all the members. And there would be a third email created in which we could communicate with each other. So if we wanted everyone to be CC'd on an email instead of individually putting each other's email, there would just be an email that went to everyone. So you could have 3 options, 2 options for people who are not officers.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say that to vote in for that to happen, I'd make a motion for what I just stated to happen. Is there a second?
Second it.
All right. So let's see if I can phrase this right. So we're going to do a roll call vote, which is typically a yay or nay on. So we currently have the accessibility email. Currently have how it all functions. Is the motion to add the third option? Is
Yes,
that really what we're talking
Yeah.
about?
add a third email in which the members can communicate with other members through one email. You can say motion as stated if you want.
Okay. Motion as stated will go through the roll call. Lisa Giselson,
Yes.
Alex Beaudry,
Yes.
Joseph Sonia, yes. Shonda?
She's a yes.
So 2 thumbs up is an affirmative. Julia Wright,
Yes.
Kelly Trapasso,
Yes.
Ian Cullen,
Yes.
Dom Jellison,
Yes.
Meg Keegan.
Yep.
Joanne Lephurst.
Yes.
Unanimous motion passes. And so Meg, will you follow up on that?
Do you want to do it, Lisa, or do you want, I can do it. Do you want me to call Mike?
No, because I'm trying to get that meeting set up with him anyway. So I'm happy
Yeah,
to.
I'll be there, so we can talk about it then.
Okay.
Who's following up, just so I have the note in there?
Lisa is.
Lisa, okay.
I love your notes, Joe. It is so helpful because I'm so just distracted about the meeting and how everything's going that I cannot mentally keep track of what I'm supposed to do when I get off the call.
Problem. Next item on the sub bullets under internet resources. Again, this is from Lisa, town procedures.
Right. So, and I think this goes into the social media. So the town is discouraging all subcommittees of the town from having their own social media. They want one social media page for the town, and I believe Heather sent me an email with the contact, and I can find that for who we are supposed to contact to send information to, and they will post it on the town website. And that is not the town website, but the town social media page. And the point of that was so it gets more traffic and people can see other town happenings and perhaps run into information they would not otherwise have seen but might be interested in, to kind of drum up interest in multiple committees and commissions. So that is now how the town will be proceeding with social media things.
So there's an easy way to do this. So if Julia is gonna post something, she can invite the town as a collaborator and it makes a post on theirs. So that
So
I can talk to Mike about, or whoever it is
we
about
can
that.
talk with Mike, and perhaps Julia, when you feel like you might want to do that, maybe touch base with the person. I am not great at social media, so
So basically, like, if I post something on my business and I invite a collaborator, if that collaborator accepts, then that post gets posted as one of their posts. It's just posted by both of us on their page, which would accomplish what they're asking. So instead of having to like send it to somebody and say, hey, can you post this? You can just post it on the commission web or the commission social media, invite the town as a collaborator, and they just hit approve and it posts it on theirs.
so I'm not 100% sure, but there might be some desire for oversight of things that get posted. So
But they can oversight. So if they have to accept the collaboration, so if they
Mhm.
don't want to repost it, they just don't accept it. So there is oversight. Heather just may not know that that's an option.
so can we put that on your list to explore further?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know who it is that I have to talk to, if it's Mike
Yeah.
or something.
It's in one of the email. I'll find it.
Thanks.
All right, just taking that down. Yeah, that ties into social media nicely, and I guess a question that will be posited, Meg, would be, do they have the authority to tell us not to do a social media page? Because I know
Yeah, that is.
we're an advisory council, and we are allowed to vote and do things to support our cause. This sounds very directive. I'd be interested to know what legal basis they are citing for that.
I wonder if record keeping, I was thinking, like, is that the main problem, is the keeping of the posts maybe?
Well, I think that, to Joe's point, I mean, I think that if it was illegal or not able, then we would have never created all these other posts, right? The pages would have never been created. I'd be happy to ask, but I think, and that's why part of along your line of thinking is why I'm saying that we can post probably whatever we want, right? If we decide to do that. If they want to put it on there, if they want to co-sign it or whatever you want to call it, then they can just accept as a collaborator. So that would kind of, to what I hear you saying, is allow us to post what we want and what we vote to do. They can't restrain us from doing that, but what they decide to post then outward on their page, they have complete control over. So that's part of,
And
that's what my thought was thinking about that.
I don't want to make an assumptions, a statement that they want to have control over what's being posted. I think it was mostly a town desire to pull all of the different commissions and committees into one place with their postings so that people could go to one location to find out more about town information and possibly realize they're interested in something else.
Yep. Then they should have no problem just accepting a collaborator invite, which would do that.
I like that idea personally, because then, because the town at that rate would also need to worry about, if they're trying to get a message out related to, safety, they may want to delay or defer a message we're posting at the same time, which would be perfectly acceptable. But
Right.
with Meg's method, it still gets up on the people that follow our page.
Right.
Without
And as
detracting
they
from the
start to
safety.
post, collaborate with us, people then can sign up for our page. So then if we have something that's not as important or needed to be on town, but we still wanted to get that out, people who want that information could get it.
Hopefully we can come up with a compromise on that works out.
Yeah, I think a lot of the posts on the social media right now are like not what the town would consider super important to repost. And so I like the collaborator idea because if the only things we can post are things that we need to tell the town are important, like I don't think we have that many things to post.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think that
But
like,
it's not that it's not important. I just mean,
yeah, I know what you mean.
like, if I'm posting like, oh, this is the ADA birthday, like, I don't think the town would be like, yeah, I need to repost that.
Right, or White Cane Day or whatever we wanted to post.
Alex is going to have to step out. We are a little over the time. It is 5:45. We only have a few things left if you want to defer those for the next time. I don't think they're anything time critical. The last two are general webpage, mission webpage intro, 2025 meeting dates. Since we have one established on the 15th, I think we can address that in the next meeting. And the annual
Joe,
report.
we had just said, I think before you came on, that we were maybe hoping to move the time, although I don't think we should move it for January because we have guests coming,
No.
but that maybe we
Yes.
wanted to vote on moving the time later.
All right, so
5 o'clock?
why don't we
To-
grab that agenda item before anyone has to leave?
I can make a motion to make the meeting's start time at 5 o'clock instead of 4:30. If someone can amend the motion, if that doesn't work, to 4:45.
Yeah, people should be honest about what, whether that works for them or not, because it doesn't have to be 5.
I'll second the motion for 5. Good to me.
Any discussion?
Anybody? Should we just,
All right. Do a roll call of moving. Oh, did you have something typed in, Shonda?
She said yes, 5.
She said
Okay.
yes, 5.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do a roll call vote for the motion to move our committee meeting time to 5 p.m. Lisa Gittleson.
so is it 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. to 6:30? Are we going to try and stay within an hour?
I would think 1 hour would be.
Okay.
That's
In the
good.
past,
We
we
can
did.
We can always vote at the hour to extend the meeting.
Okay.
5, 10, 15 minutes.
But our posted time will be from 5 to 6.
Yeah, it's just a start time. There's
Yeah.
usually no end time because it's like a board of selectmen meeting can go till 10 o'clock at night. They just put the start time.
Okay. Then yes, I agree with the 5 o'clock start time.
Alex Beaudry.
Yes.
Joseph Saunier votes yes. Shonda, I'm going to look at the chat, read it out loud, give a thumbs up and a yes to 5. Julia Wright.
Yes.
Julie Trapasso.
Yes.
Ian Cullen.
Yes.
Tom Jellison.
Yes.
Meg Keegan.
Yes.
Joanne Lepers.
Yes.
Unanimously passed. Motion passes. We will
Fantastic.
move the time to 5 p.m.
I just quickly want to thank everybody for coming to the photo who could make it. And for people that could not make it, we can try again, maybe after the holiday crazies go by, to just see if we can get everybody again. And that way, if not, we still have the picture that I posted to submit. But if we can get everybody, that would be even better.
Sounds good. Maybe we can do it the weekend before or after our next meeting.
Yeah, more
I'll put
time
out
is
a
helpful. I
text.
can plan more time. Sorry, just to go back on the meeting dates real quick. The January one's going to be the 15th. Do we want to keep the first Wednesday of the month for the rest of the year? So
I would say yes, because that's what we've been planning. But does that not work for anyone?
I'll motion to vote for the first Wednesday of the month with the exception of the January 15th meeting.
I don't think we have to vote for it because
No,
it's
we don't?
already established that it's the first Wednesday.
Okay.
And we've already voted to change our meeting to the 15th, so you don't have to
Okay.
vote.
Okay.
Thank you, Meg. So I will plan out the dates for next year. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
very much.
let just email. I usually say email or let us know if any of the dates don't work, because we can always try to change them. Or if someone notices they fall on a holiday or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll take a look
And
at
we
that.
usually take July off, but we haven't for the last 2 years, so we just make it the voting meeting, the short meeting.
Given we're over, motion to close and bring the remaining bullets to next meeting.
Second,
All right. Lisa Judelson,
Yes.
Alex Baudry,
Yes.
Joseph Stonier, yes. Shonda DeSanti. We got a thumbs up for Shonda. Julia Wright,
Yes.
Billy Trapasso,
Yes.
Janine Cullen,
Yes.
Tom Jellison,
Yes.
Meg Keegan,
yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
All right, that has everyone affirmative. That passes. That's the end of this evening, and I'll add those agenda items to the next agenda.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you,
holiday.